The story of the China's aircraft carrier started in 1970s. This was the dream of the Chinese dictator Mao Zedong. Chinese story started with a single-minded focus, and their focus was only to make China a world power, chiefly by becoming a military power. Mao Zedong usurped all political power, brought death and misery to millions of people, and manipulated the Russians to achieve his aim. But from start to finish they were focused, at whatever the cost. Mao Zedong was a ruthless leader who had an impoverished China with only agricultural products snatched from helpless peasants as a source for income. But today's China is totally different. Modern China is a booming economy, a great military industrial complex, and no shortages of resources. Today's China can afford as many aircraft carriers as it wants. So in our today's discussion, our main focus will be on aircraft carriers, mainly the third one, and also how aircraft carriers are tilting Pacific nations' power equations towards China, how Taiwan is being threatened because of the Chinese aircraft carriers. But first, we will start with a short history of the China's aircraft carrier journey. Mao lived and died without giving much thought to Blue Water Navy. But during the Deng Xiaoping's reign, the Chinese dream was taking shape. First, China started gathering knowledge about the ship by acquiring the ships from the Russians and the Australians. China first acquired the Royal Australian Navy's decommissioned aircraft carriers HMAS Melbourne in February 1985. The ship was sold to China United Shipbuilding Company as a scrap to break the ship apart. The half-trusting Australians, though, took care to ensure that the ship was not to be used by Chinese in the future, but they did not remove some important equipments. Among those were the flight deck equipment like mirror landing system, steam catapult, and the arrest equipment on board. The Chinese took those out for study and the replications. It is also believed that the deck or its replica was used on land to simulate a carrier to develop an aircraft for carrier operations. The ship itself also studied in detail for its design. On the basis of that, Chinese were supposed to start building their carrier in 1992. But they did not start because of technical issues. Apart from the Australians' carrier, Chinese were trying to obtain information on carrier design from Spain and France in 1995. Because of that, China bought Minsk and Varyak from Russia in 1998 and Kiev from Ukraine in 2000. China even tried to manipulate French in 1997. When French retired their aircraft carrier Clemenceau, then China tried to buy that ship in the form of scrap, but negotiations between China and the France failed. Sensing the intentions of the Chinese, the Americans offered to help China develop their aircraft carriers in 2007. Naturally, the offers were rejected because the Chinese knew it was the strategic minefield which was set up by the Washington to botch the Chinese aircraft carriers' aim. China never wanted to give anybody any access to his strategic navy goods and the naval bases. Chinese always wanted to build their defense goods indigenously. The real story of the China's aircraft carrier making is full of deceit and breathless effort. The Chinese story starts with Varyak. The Varyak was a 67,500 ton ex-Soviet Kuznetsov class aircraft carrier. The aircraft carrier was 68% complete. Because that aircraft carrier belongs to Soviet Union. After 1992 Soviet Union disintegration, that aircraft carrier was left with Ukraine. It was bought from Ukraine through a private-based Macau tourist venture in 1998. The aircraft carrier was sold to China for $20 million only. The ship was obstructed by Turkey to pass through Bosphorus Channel and Dardanelles Strait, but eventually they allowed it. The Varyak was supposed to be the restaurant, but it became China's first aircraft carrier in September 2012. Varyak became Liaoning Type 001 aircraft carrier. It came into service in 23rd September 2012, but its first landing was conducted in November 2012 with an Shenyang J-15 aircraft. Liaoning became the combat ready in November 2016. China's next aircraft carrier is Shandong Type 002. These aircraft carriers was totally built domestically. The construction of the ship began in November 2013. The ship was launched in 26th April 2017. It was a ski jump carrier with a displacement around 70,000 ton. The aircraft carrier used Shenyang J-15 fighter. The ship is same as Liaoning, but the Chinese third aircraft carrier Type 003 is different from previous two. It is also the largest carrier of all. The Type 003 will have the displacement of around 85,000 ton. The ship is approximately the size of US Navy's Ford class ships. According to the recent report, the Chinese could possibly use electromagnetic launching system, which is known as Catover system or Stratover system. The Chinese are building this aircraft carrier at Jiangnan shipyard. According to the expert, the China is 3 to 6 months away from launching its third aircraft carrier, but the aircraft is due to launch in 2024. After having 3 aircraft carriers in its fleet, China will expand its geostrategic expansion all over the world, especially in the Pacific region. Having 3 aircraft carriers in its fleets, China will be able to use one of its aircraft carriers as a permanent mission ship, another one for training, and the third one could be going through repair. These aircraft carriers are really posing serious threat to the countries those are sharing border with South China Sea and East China Sea, especially Japan and Taiwan. Beijing have numerous disputes with Japan in East China Sea region. East China Sea is the home to the Japan-administered Senkaku Island, claimed by China as Diaoyu Island. After Japan bought those islands from its private owner, then the relationship between Japan and China became sour. Apart from Japan, America is also facing the threats from the Chinese aircraft carriers. The America have various military assets in this region. American island Guam is the largest military installation near China. US also have military presence in South Korea and Japan. US is opposing the Chinese unilateral demand on the South China Sea region. To establish the Chinese hegemony, China has already built 2 artificial islands in the South China Sea region. One is Partial Island and another is Spratly Island. Partial Island posing threat to Vietnam and East China Sea region, and Spratly Island are posing threat to Philippines and other Asian countries. These 2 islands are working as a natural aircraft carrier for People's Liberation Army's Navy. But having 3 aircraft carriers will definitely end the US hegemony in Pacific Ocean region with 2 additional islands. The greater threat is being failed by only one country, and one country only, and that country is Taiwan. China could use those aircraft carriers to cut Taiwan from east and west. Recently, China has conducted a navy drill. The navy drill was basically a replica of how China will do Taiwan invasion. China will cut the Taiwan Strait in east and Luzon Strait in west using their carrier fleet. Additionally, because of the American power axis, another axis of Russia and the China is developing, which is a serious concern for the world. Because the way the blocks are being formed, it is directing towards the another war after Ukrainian war. Now the question is, who is really responsible for today's geopolitical scenario? For me, it is definitely USA. After 1945, US hegemony over the world was increasing exponentially. Even before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, US hegemony was intact. But after Ukraine, everything changed overnight. Everything was bound to change. The America should stand firm with Ukraine if they were really sympathetic about Ukrainians. Americans should send their soldiers to the Ukrainian soil rather than provoking Ukrainian government and the Russian government. The Ukrainian President Zelensky single-handedly destroyed their own country. He never understood the American trap. America used him to gain leverage against Russia. This is the same tactic US been using since 1945. US invaded Vietnam in the name of containing communism by supporting a Vietnamese dictator. The US also did same to the Iraq. They invaded Iraq in the name of weapon of mass destruction, and later they left that country almost destroyed. There was no weapon of mass destruction. They did the same to the Soviet Union using Pakistan. Pakistan was used against Soviet Union when Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. And the last and the most tantalizing question is, who is responsible for the Chinese rise? For me, it is definitely USA again. The USA built the economic relationship with China in 1979 during Jimmy Carter's presidency. Since then, the USA chose the China as their economical manufacturing house. USA shifted all its manufacturing plant in China because the China was the house of skilled and the cheap laborers. Since then, China make USA to depend on their manufacturing articulations. Now it is too late for the USA to diversify their manufacturing base at a bold speed. By the time the USA will be able to shift their manufacturing base, China will touch the USA's economical zenith. So, like the Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan and Somalia, China is becoming the headache for the world. But the China is not like the others. They are the economical giant as well as the human resource giant. So the Chinese aircraft carriers has become the pain for the Pacific countries. Economy which is still growing at an average growth of 6%, it will be going to add more aircraft carriers in its fleets. The China is already planning to add another aircraft carrier type 004, and the type 004 will be the nuclear propulsion carrier, and these aircraft carrier could power the railgun and the lasers. So now the world have to increase its military budget, which won't be necessary if the USA won't poke the bear and dragon. Now the questions. The first question is, India is said to buy the Sikorsky Romeo helicopters from which country? The first option is Israel, second option is Russia, third option is United States, fourth option is France. The second question is, the transportation system named Arpit that was seen in news recently has been included by which Indian armed forces? The first option is Indian Navy, second option is Indian Army, third option is Indian Air Force, fourth option is Indian Coast Guard. I would like to give you some hints about the Arpit. The Arpit is using for critical patients with infection diseases, includes COVID-19 pandemic, the COVID-19. So you can get the options, the options by eliminating the other options. So this is the end of the topic. If you found out this topic informative, then please subscribe my channel. So again, thank you very much. Thank you for your support. If you have any question regarding this topic or any other topic, you can contact me through my email address, which is tuhin.power.academy@gmail.com.